Hello, everybody. I think I'm live. Welcome to another Thursday evening live stream show. I'm super excited to be here with you guys tonight. Tonight, we are going to be talking about cravings. Before we start to go into the topic, I would like to just quickly introduce myself because we have a lot of new faces in here. And I'm very excited that this group is growing so well and so nicely, and that we're really building this amazing community of women that are starting to really interact with each other and be so supportive of one another. It really, it's just feels nice. So this is the whole purpose of us being here together, right? Supporting each other on our way to better health, really. So, welcome everybody. My name is Cradula. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist, and I am the founder of this group, the Holistic Gut Solution. I'm also the founder of the Holistic Gut Solution Academy, which is a 6-month program that I'm leading women through. And tonight we are going to talk all about cravings. So, for everybody who's new in here, please say hi. Please give me a wave. I'm going to pull up my comments. I see Martha is here. Hello, Martha. I'm also going to be pulling up my Facebook group just so that I make sure that I see everybody's comments as we go along. Okay. Let's see. There I am. Perfect. Okay, let's talk about cravings. Let's talk about cravings and what your cravings can really tell you about your gut health. Because I know it is a big pain point for many women in here. And it was for me personally as well. It was a big pain point for me for the longest time because I was basically thinking that I was just lacking discipline in sticking with my dietary needs, with my dietary approaches to make me lose my weight, which was hard to begin with because of my slower metabolism, anyways, that I had due to my Hashimoto's. It was so bad that I really started to feel almost inappropriate. I wasn't able to, stop those cravings, and I was easily, it was so easy for me to just sit down with a bag of chips and have them all done in like just one sitting. So it was a very, very difficult topic for me. And so that is why I want to share this with you, because we oftentimes get so worked up and we are blaming ourselves, even though it's usually not just our willpower that is behind all of our cravings, right? So what I did is I really created that image for myself that I just needed to stick to that very strict calorie intake diet in order to prevent me from gaining more weight, and or to help me lose those pounds. But tonight we're going to be tackling this myth that it is 100% your fault, because it's not. It's not your diet's fault that you're experiencing these cravings for sweet, salty, or fatty. It's different for everybody, depending what kind of cravings you have. And tonight, let's just kind of shake up the world of self-inflicted guilt, and the feeling of, inadequacy. Okay, so let's clear that up a little bit, because it's not that easy that often. Cravings. Um, Cravings are oftentimes just signals. Cravings are signals from your body to your brain asking to basically release more glucose into the bloodstream for various reasons, right? That's what it is. Your body is talking to you. Your body is telling you with the cravings that you need more sugar, you need more energy in your body, and that's because of different reasons. So I just want to make that clear that it's not your brain telling your body that you are a weak person and you just can't withstand that donut that is there, or you can't just pass by that piece of cake. It's not the brain telling your body that, is your body telling your brain that it needs more energy. Okay, so that is the first distinction that I really want to point out here. And I can tell you that with full confidence because I was that person that just could not live without a certain amount of sweets or salty stuff for the longest time. I couldn't stop eating sweets. It was impossible. I had to. I would actually hop in the car in the middle of the night and run over to the store to get myself a bag of gummies because it was my, what we're going to be talking about, dysbiosis, doing that for me. I would also binge eat like a whole bag of chips in one sitting. And then afterwards, I just felt very bad about myself. So let's get right into it. Okay, guys. So whoever's here, comment and say hi. Oops. Oops. Sorry. Okay, here we go. All right. So there are many reasons why you might be experiencing cravings. There's so many reasons, but tonight I really just want to focus on three. And they all, or two of them, have a root in your gut health. And that is one of the main drivers of cravings to begin with. And let's start with that one main driver, which is called dysbiosis. Okay, so dysbiosis is a pretty big term, and not everybody is familiar with it. But the more you spend time in this group, the more you will get the grasp of dysbiosis. So dysbiosis is really the imbalance of your microbiome, the bacteria in your gut. So that is very general description of dysbiosis. And when you think about it, the average human has over 100 trillion microbes in and on their body. Think about that. It has over 100 trillion microbes in and on their bodies, right? We are basically more microbial cells than human cells. And there's more and more research coming out that is super exciting around that. So we are basically moving from a multi-decade focus on trying to kill all bacteria in our gut, via soaps and detergents and antibiotics and hand sanitizers, all of those, just bombs that we throw on our microbiomes, whether it's in our mouth, in our gut, in our skin, everything. We're shifting to a new understanding of the complexity of it, of the complex bacterial system in our bodies and really in the world around us, and how we are in need of those bacteria and microbes and how they are helping us to keep healthy. And so that is why we see so many women with dysbiosis. And I'm going to write that down for those of you who are more visual. So the number one reason we're talking about cravings here is called dysbiosis. Dysbiosis. Okay? And so we now understand that humans are 90% microbial, but only 10% human in terms of cells in the gut. It's amazing. So the average human, like I said, has over 100 trillion microbes in on their bodies, and they all serve a purpose. They all serve a purpose. They all have their part to play. And so when we are realizing that we are living in a world that is so focused on just overall killing of bacteria and microbes in any shape or form, hand sanitizers, antimicrobial creams, mouthwash, like antibiotics, all of it, you realize how much damage we are actually, you know, incorporating in our bodies because of that, right? And but there is heightened awareness now of the importance of the microbial ecosystem because it is a huge ecosystem in there. There is, like I said, trillions of bacteria, and they all serve a purpose, right? And we now also know that all of these bacteria have really the capacity to send out signals. They send out signals to our brains. And it's not in a way as if they pick up the phone and talk to your brain, but what they do is they eat what we eat. they eat our food and they metabolize our food, and then in form of their metabolites, which are one of them is, fatty acids. Through these fatty acids, they send messages through the vagus nerve up into your brain, right? So it's called the vagus nerve gut brain axis. And it's just incredible to understand that we are all one. The microbes and us, we're all one, and we all work in unison. And it really establishes one of the connections between your brain and the GI tract, right? So your brain and your GI tract are actually connected in form of that vagus nerve gut brain axis. It's like a bidirectional highway that sends messages from the brain to the GI tract and vice versa. So when you think about that now, you understand that bacteria and microbes, they eat what we eat, right? And they eat different types of food, right? There's so many species in there, and they all eat different types of foods. Some of them love fiber foods, some of them thrive on sugary foods, some of them eat the remnants of fatty foods, and some of them even used hormones in order to thrive, right? So the hormones that we're using up in our bodies, those bacteria are actually using those and breaking them down, and thereby clearing our bodies out of those hormones. So it's a complex system in which many links come to play. And one of them is being the influence of your gut microbes in order to regulate the GI tract balance. So you can see if there is any sort of dysbiosis going on, which means for whatever reason your gut becomes out of balance, and there's an overgrowth of certain species, and usually it's the ones that are craving sugar, then you understand now how your body is starting to send those signals to your brain that they need more sugar in order to thrive, right? It's like you have your kids at home, and the kids are the bacteria, let's say, and you're the mom, and you're the brain, and those kids scream for ice cream or fruit rolls or sugar or candy, right? They say, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this, and to the brain. And then oftentimes the brain, the mom goes out and gets them the stuff, right? So it's the same thing with the bacteria and the brain that you have. And like I said, each species has a different role in the body, and they all eat different foods, right? So understand that for whatever reason your dysbiosis has developed, there's so many reasons, that can happen, can be at play. Pesticides, fungicides, toxins we're exposed to, then antimicrobial drugs, or even, foods that are highly processed, all of it can create dysbiosis. And when you have that, it can really, really cause extremely strong cravings for foods that are not serving you. But it's very, very difficult to just by pure willpower to step away from that. And, unless you start to address your dysbiosis, right? But I also just wanted to mention that on the flip side, if we start to feed our bodies fiber-rich foods, fiber-loving bacteria will start to populate in the gut. They will start to thrive, and then you will see over time that you will actually start cravings for specific vegetables and fruit. Right. So let me know in the comments if you have ever experienced that. It's the weirdest thing when all of a sudden you crave a cucumber, or you crave a kale shake, or whatever it is. Right. But that's what you will see will start happening once you start to work on your dysbiosis, because what you feed will flourish. And the question is, what do you want to feed? Right. What do you want to have flourished in your gut? So the second reason for cravings that I often see is blood sugar. I'm going to write that down. Number two is blood sugar. Blood sugar. There. So blood sugar is a really big term too, and it's a really big issue. Blood sugar, we're talking about the glucose and insulin. So I can tell you that Hashimoto's or really any other chronic condition we often struggle with is due to an unbalanced, where we experience an unbalanced sugar level in our bodies for various reasons. So studies have shown that the repeated insulin surges that come with insulin resistancy increases the destruction of the thyroid gland in people with autoimmune thyroid disease. So it is extremely critical for us to understand that we need to work on our blood sugar to have it steady and level at all times. And so, how does blood sugar relate to cravings? Many sugar cravings, specifically sugar cravings, stem from a blood sugar imbalance, right? Because when your body ingests sugar, and that is sugar in, like processed sugar, that's just very simple sugars, but that's also, vegetables and fiber-rich foods, carbohydrates, your blood sugar is going up. So the more processed the sugar is, the more the more of a spike you will see. And then your body releases insulin to lower it to a safer level to bring the blood sugar back down, right? However, because of that huge intake of sugar, all of a sudden, your pancreas is pumping out a lot of insulin at the same time, which can actually lead for your blood sugar to drop because the insulin is putting away the sugar too fast. And so what you're experiencing now is a big dip. And you will feel that dip in your energy. You feel that dip usually at around 10 a.m. in the morning. And there's another one at like 2, 3 o'clock. And then there's another one around 6 p.m. So if that resonates with you, those times, that is very common to see if somebody is on a blood sugar roller coaster, right? So then insulin goes in there and tries to pack away the sugar right away. And it's very, very inflammatory. The key to balancing the blood sugar is to eat foods that prevent too much insulin from being released all at once, right? So such as proteins and healthy fats alongside the carbohydrates, and really only consuming small amounts of sugar. And with regards to cravings, is so when you experience the blood sugar dip during the day, again, your cells are now crying out and saying, "Oh my goodness, we there's no sugar anymore in the blood. You're dipping too low." So now your body is reacting to that environment and saying, "Okay, we have to bring that blood sugar back up. So we need to start craving sugar or sweet foods, right?" Or a stimulant, coffee is often another one. And in order to keep it stable, we really need to talk about the quality of carbs. We can't just go and say all carbs are bad, right? Because carbs, what are carbs? Carbs are the main source of energy for every cell in your body. You need carbs. Carbs are great, right? But we're talking about the quality of carbs. Okay, so we want to be really focused on the more fiber you're taking, the more you reduce the sugar spike, because the fiber is adding so much more layers to the digestive actions that it's really necessary to get, to break down more and more fiber in order to get to the end result, which is sugar. So it delays the breakdown and it's almost like a drip, right? So it takes hours for those carbs to break down into soluble fiber. It's like a drip that releases more slowly into the blood versus when you go with a straight processed sugar, um, you know, product that'll just go right in there and spike it up. And by the way, soluble fiber, which you will get from the good carbs and from the good fiber, helps to feed those microbes in your gut. So it's really a win-win situation, right? You're feeding the good bacteria and thereby diminishing this possible dysbiosis that you might be having as well. And the third point I was going to mention here is hormonal imbalances. So while hormonal imbalances are not really directly related to gut health and cravings, they are related to cravings in a certain way. And that is the third. That's really the third reason that I see that a lot of women experience cravings, and I see a lot of women are actually feeling very alone, I would say, with their hormonal imbalances because they're often misunderstood. And tonight I want to just quickly go into not so much the cortisol, because we all know the stress hormone cortisol. I'm not going to go into that tonight. But tonight I'm going to be going into more of the sex hormones. So I'm going to be going more into the estrogen and progesterone, because I very, very often see that women with Hashimoto's, as well as other chronic inflammation, are struggling with hormonal imbalances, when it comes to their sex hormones. So let's talk about it. Both estrogen and progesterone, they influence your appetite. So I say that again, estrogen and progesterone both influence your appetite. They can influence how much you eat. They can influence what type of food you're craving. So estrogen, and particularly estradiol, estradiol. So estrogen, there's three estrogens that our bodies make, but estradiol is the one. It's the major component of the estrogen hormone group. And the estradiol seems to decrease hunger. And how it does it is it directly affects the brain's appetite center in the hypothalamus. So there are parts of the brain, they have sensors, they have receptors. There's receptors everywhere. And the presence of this estrogen can latch on to those receptors, and then they can decrease hunger, and they can thereby decrease your food intake, and they can also make you feel more content after a meal. And when this specific type of estrogen decreases, those parts of your brain, they start telling you when those receptors are more available. Their brain is starting to tell you that you're not quite full, and you don't feel quite as content after a meal. Okay, so when there's a lot of estrogen going on, you feel less hungry. And on the flip side, progesterone, by the way, can also latch on to those receptors, and they can block the estrogen. So when your progesterone is high, that means it makes you feel more hungry, right? So the lower estrogen has a direct effect on your brain, and so does progesterone. And so I just want to make clear that it's not you lacking discipline or being bad or crazy. It is what you're experiencing is a very real response to just really simple neurological signals that your body is sending. So don't beat yourself up. Nature has intended it that way. Progesterone seems to stimulate the appetite by also opposing and blocking the estrogen's effects on the brain by latching onto those receptors, right? And so you can see how it all plays a role. And when you think about your cycles, right, you will find days in your cycle where where you have so many more cravings. You're craving so much more food, and that is normal. And that is nothing you have to beat yourself up over, right? We're living in a society where women are meant to be thin, and where women are meant to have the same energy levels all the time. And if we don't, then something is wrong with us, then we're lazy and we're not doing enough. And if we're having all these cravings, then it's just a lack of self-discipline. It's just nonsense, right? Because around those cycles, your body has created those um, certain mechanisms for purpose in order to keep you healthy. Because when you think about it, your high estrogen is leading up to ovulation, which means during that time you are very energetic, you don't have very many cravings, you feel great, you content, satisfied. And then during ovulation, your estrogen is at its highest, and then it goes down, and your progesterone goes up directly after ovulation. So what does that mean? Now your body is trying to prepare for the best possible outcome of a new offspring, right? So it's starting to prepare in craving more foods, because these foods are needed in order to get the nutrients in, to build the lining and all of it, to help make the egg embed, right? And so there's a reason behind it. And there's a reason why we're getting hungrier after ovulation. And just keep that in mind, and don't beat yourself up over that, because it's just a normal um, process that you're experiencing. It makes sense from a reproductive perspective. Your body just wants to make sure that it has energy reserves for this egg to implement, right? It's just what nature intended for us to happen. But on the flip side, what I often see in women with Hashimoto's is there's an imbalance of those sex hormones due to various reasons. Again, toxicity, pesticides, environmental pollution, stress, wrong foods, chronic inflammation, whatever it is. So there's a lot of imbalances, right? So that oftentimes I see there's even very, very low levels of estrogen in women, and heightened levels of progesterone all year round, all the time, which really impacts your appetite, right? And if those hormonal imbalances are not being looked at, there's nothing you can do. Willpower cannot help you, right? So you need to know where your hormonal levels are. And oftentimes, what I also see is that there is an abundance of testosterone for us in Hashimoto's, right? Which then creates the facial hair growth. Also, it creates the hair loss. And so testosterone is just going to add to a heightened appetite as well. So you will have to keep all of this in mind when you're going through cravings again. Um, so those are the three things I was going to mention today. So dysbiosis, blood sugar, and hormonal imbalances that can all lead us to having more cravings. So it's not just so simple all the time with calories in, calories out, which will make your cravings go away. And it's has certainly nothing to do with you not having enough willpower. And there's three tips I can give you tonight in order to tackle those. So number one is really work, or if you work with a practitioner, or if you have a practitioner, work with your practitioner to stabilize your blood sugar. Stabilize your blood sugar will be number one key to make sure that you're not experiencing those huge dips in energy throughout the day that can increase the inflammation in your body. Number two, get your hormones checked. Like get a test done and get a full hormone panel, and look into balancing those. There's a great test out there. It's called Dutch test. And it's a really comprehensive test that any functional doctor, any naturopath can do with you so that you can get really a good picture of what is going on a hormonal level. And number three is, and that is the easiest for you to do right away, that you can start any day, is work on your dysbiosis, work on your gut balance, right? Rebalance your gut. Start by increasing your fiber foods. Make sure that you have enough hydrochloric acid in your stomach. Make sure you're digesting. Make sure you're absorbing. Make sure you eat fermented foods. Look into quality probiotics for your gut health. All of these things. Just, take one step at a time and move forward with it. And that'll just start to slowly bring you towards that level of more balance. So I hope this was helpful for you guys tonight. And I hope it also makes you feel more empowered and confident now, and a little bit more, conscientious around that it's not just you. It's not just your brain, not getting it. There's so many physiological factors involved in cravings, and so just, take that with you tonight and start from there. Right. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, everybody. And I will see you again very shortly. Have a good night.